Hey everyone, I'm Scott Stokely and I'm here with British Member of Parliament, Ben Lake. Ben, thank you so much for the most amazing day. I'm going to do a little bit of talking and then we'll let you let you do most of the talking. But I got to tell you, this is such an incredible honor. I've been playing for 46 years, and many of these years in relative obscurity. And to know that our sport has grown to a place where a member of the British Parliament reaches out to me to ask me if he can give us a tour of Parliament and the House of Commons and the other House
House of Lords.
of Lords. I know that. Took a little poke. Is that okay? Okay. I'm learning enough about British politics to know where I can have a little fun. But you reached out to us to give us a tour, and I got to tell you, I mean, I'm honored by it, but I think more than anything, it honors our sport because we've gotten to a place where a professional disc golfer from across the pond, as you all say, comes to the UK and gets invited by a member of Parliament. I mean, and we just spent the last 3 hours, and you took us out to lunch. Thank you.
You are very welcome.
Yeah, so I asked you if I could refer to you as a fan, and you said, well, you said I subscribe to your channel, kind of makes you a fan. That is mind-blowing to me. Tell me about your interest in disc golf, and where did this start?
Yeah, well, thanks, Scott. And can I just say, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
And the interest probably started because of a course that was set up in my home area in Velingeri, and I know you're familiar with it now.
I am now.
It was wonderful to meet you down there. And they very kindly invited me a couple of years ago now to kind of see the course and to introduce me really to disc golf. And there was a wonderful guy, local player down there called Crompton, who took me around, showed me the basics. Didn't take me up on the hill. He kept me on the flats on the last few holes. Nice and easy.
That's probably the right idea.
Oh, and I just thought it was what a wonderful sport. Instantly, I think probably everybody who plays disc golf will say that as soon as they started throwing a few discs, they get hooked, and it's just wonderful. They get a lot of fun, and they want to do more of it. And that's really how I got started, and I love every time I can. I'd wish I had more time to do more, but that's a work in progress.
No, that is dispelling the myth of the politician with a lot of free time. You told me that you actually work really hard in Parliament. It was great. We had we had met previously, and you or we were talking about. I think it's the conversation started with of all the benefits disc golf can bring to a community. I think the starting place is something I've noticed in the UK that the US has in common is that our youth, how do we say this politely? They have a lot of energy. And if that energy is not channeled correctly, it can go in all sorts of unhealthy directions. But we talked about how disc golf is a very healthy direction for a kid to spend their energy. And that interests you in Wales, as you said, you would like to bring disc golf there in large part so kids have things to do.
Totally. And I think what's great about disc golf is not only is it a productive, positive way to channel that energy, but it's also so accessible, right? People don't need to spend much money to participate. They can also actually compete in competitions without it costing an arm and a leg. Which is quite rare for sports, because most sports will require you to really commit financially, especially if you want to compete in that sport. And the disc golf offers a totally different route, totally different experience for all abilities as well. And I think that's really important for areas of the country where we don't have that many sporting facilities and opportunities. So disc golf offers a way in for people, especially in my part of the world, to compete in the sport as well as to enjoy it. And for it not to cost them, as I said, an arm and a leg.
No doubt. Well, you mentioned the economics of your, is it called district?
Constituency. Yeah.
Constituency. I mean, there's different, and we'll talk about they're getting ready for the coronation here. we got to see the royal carriage right before we took a tour of the House of Commons and the House of Lords, and that room that you see we were in that room and we had it all to ourselves. Anyways, I'm still mind blown. But you said, like a lot of places, the economics are stronger and weaker in different places.
Yeah.
And when they're weaker, that's a whole new set of challenges. But one of the things we talked about also was about when you run events and you have activities that bring outside money in, it doesn't just benefit the players, it benefits the whole community. And that's also of interest to you.
Oh, massively. I mean, it was great on Monday to see the end of the Welsh Open and in Ballingerry. And what you had there were dozens of people from all parts of the UK and further afield coming to a small corner of West Wales. And everybody will have been staying there for the weekend. They will have been spending money. So as well as enjoying, what we have to offer, the beautiful countryside, they're also bringing money to the area. So disc golf offers a great opportunity for areas like my own, that, as I say, traditionally perhaps aren't on the sort of radar of people further afield. It's a reason for them to come all the way to West Wales to enjoy the area and spend some of their hard-earned money.
We went there. It's not an accident. We didn't accidentally come to West Wales. We came there because there was something that interested me that I wanted to see. Well, one of the things too, Wales is so beautiful. And the terrain, the rolling hills, and it's the UK is so wet, but with wet comes life.
Yeah.
And trees and grass and shrubs and bushes and all the things that we want on a disc golf course. And you drive through the Welsh countryside, you see, I see disc golf courses everywhere. Now that you play, do you see those courses, future courses, when you drive through these places?
Oh, goodness, yeah. There are just an abundance of opportunities in Wales. As you mentioned, we're blessed with a natural environment that's almost, divinely made for the purposes of a disc golf course. And I think we need to make most of that opportunity, because there are equally beautiful parts of the world as well, which if we don't kind of make the most of it, they'll start doing their own courses, and then people will go there instead. So
right.
We've got an opportunity, but we need to make the most of it now. But I tell you one thing: if we can get our act together, I think parts of Wales can be quite famous on the global stage.
Oh, for sure. And from our perspective in the disc golf world, now we got someone on the inside. Oh man, I don't want to take up too much of your time because we've been here for 3 hours. Like, I'm still mind blown. This is happening to me. My world, I'm in a simulation. I'm convinced of this. Like the coolest things, I feel so lucky. I avoid politics like the plague on my channel. I don't want to polarize my audience. People don't come there for politics. But I would be remiss if I didn't ask you a couple non-disc golf related political questions. Sure. I'm curious your take on this. By the way, if you're looking for disc golf, only click off. This is not disc golf related. But I want to hear the take of someone on the inside, especially someone on the inside of politics, but on the outside of our politics. Sure. In my one man's opinion, there's the two biggest challenges facing U.S. politics, because it's in trouble right now. It always has its ups and downs, but it's clearly in bad shape. The first thing that I feel is that I don't feel like, politicians generally, I'm generalizing, but I don't think they care about the people that voted them into power. And the reason I feel that way, I don't think it's subjective, is that there's basically policy from both parties that you must oppose anything coming out of the other party. You do not consider if it's good or bad for the people that voted you in, if it's good or bad for the country, the economy, safety. You simply vote against. And if that's, and by this is from both sides, if that is the stance of both sides, it doesn't feel like they're working for me. Is that an issue here? Because over here we have the Conservatives and the Labour Party, right?
Yep.
Is that a challenge over here as well?
Oh, definitely. It can be. And I think you're right, Scott, right? Partisanship, at its worst, means that people, or representatives, I should say, will vote dogmatically. And actually we need sometimes in politics is a bit of pragmatism, and for MPs, or in this case congressmen, to vote pragmatically. And one of the things in British politics, just the same as US politics, If it's an idea that is proposed by the other side, you can't be seen to support that. Or at least that has been the case. Unlike US politics, that sort of behaviour comes in ebbs and flows. But in the last Parliament, so 2017 to 2019, there was a lot of that. Now at that time, it was all based on Brexit, so Remainers and Leavers. We were polarised in that regard. It's not quite as bad in this Parliament, because at the end of the day, when politics works well, all of the representatives or MPs or whatever will acknowledge the truth that there is no monopoly on good ideas, right? And you can perhaps disagree with some of the core values of a party, but a stop clock is right twice a day. Even parties with whom you disagree usually can have good ideas, and I think it's a sign of mature political discourse when you're able to acknowledge that and say, you know what, I disagree with you 9 times out of 10, but on this time, I agree there's a good idea there, we can do something with that.
So that does happen here on occasion?
It does on occasion happen.
Okay, I can't recall the last time, and when I was younger, this would happen sometimes. Yeah. I don't recall the last time it happened in the US, so maybe just hope it changes?
I think so, because it's not good for any country to have their political representatives so polarised that they will literally put blinkers on themselves and refuse to believe that, you know what, maybe sometimes the other side has an idea that you can support.
I mean, that seems logical to me, but I'm also not a politician, so I've not walked in your shoes. Okay, the second challenge that then just one man's opinion again, the second biggest challenge is that to acquire the job of a very coveted job of politician takes money, takes voters, but at the core it takes money. And often the people spending the money to support the candidate are required for that candidate to get into office. It's not altruism. Those people, call them special interest groups, call it big corporation, fill in the blank. They don't typically spend money without expecting things in return, which there's a conflict of interest, which also leads to our politicians making decisions that aren't in my best interest because they're now.
Yeah, I mean,
is that also an issue here, or are there restrictions on the power that special interest has?
There are restrictions. So I'm not going to say that it's perfect, okay?
Sure.
But there are strict laws in the UK as regards campaign finance. So before an election, there'll be a certain period, I think it memory serves, it's about a 2-month period, where there are legal restrictions and limits on the amount of money that any campaign can spend. And if they go above that limit, they have serious penalties coming their way. So at least for that short campaign, as we call it, the last 2 months of a campaign, every single candidate will have a set amount of money that they can spend. It's a level playing field. Now, where critics of the system will say is, well, but in the year beforehand, there aren't as many limits.
Of course.
However, as with any sort of political campaign, most people can make a decision in the last 2 months. So it's the last 2 months is really important. Okay. And even then, even in the long campaign, they have to declare everything. They have to account for everything, disclose where the money's come from, who's paying for it, and the paperwork and the bureaucracy to administer some of that is in itself a bit of a dampener. You don't really want the local press saying that this candidate's had X amount of money from this company, because it's not always a good look for the campaign trail. So it's far from perfect, but especially when it comes to the actual short campaign, it doesn't matter who you are, you can be the party of government or a small up-and-coming party, same limits, you can only spend an X amount.
Okay. So and that just leads to the next challenge, which is, for us, would be the people in power who need to be voting against their own financial self-interest, which is it's a big ask of anybody.
Yeah.
So it's almost one of those things. It seems like it's hard to put the genie back in the bottle, maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So this is why I'm not a politician. You answered both of my questions beautifully, and I'm still no closer to having a solution. But I was just really curious, and I wanted to ask on camera just because I like to share things. Thank you again. I can't express it. I will try to express it one more time. To be able to come here and get a tour on the inside. I mean, I'm in the House of Commons, and you're pointing to the seat you were at the first time you had to put someone in their place. Can I say it that way?
Can.
Okay. Are they still the person you put in their place? Are they still active?
No, luckily.
Okay. So the person you put in their place, but to actually hear that, it's almost like living history. You know, it's one thing to get a tour on the outside, but another thing to get a tour on the inside, and nothing was in session today, which meant we had the House of Commons all to ourselves. We had Westminster Hall all to ourselves. So I'll be posting a picture. We got to two of these buildings that we went, if things were in session, we couldn't do.
Yeah.
I will never forget today. Thank you.
It's a real pleasure.
So much.
Really.
All right, thanks everybody. Oh, I have, and I'm going to give them to you twice, because I'm also going to give them to you on an Instagram reel. Wait, we can use this clip on a reel, can't we? All right, this technology thing. That's why you've given me great advice as a politician. I'll give you some advice. Always date a woman 10 years younger than you to handle because technology.
Yeah.
Trust me. Or have kids. Those are your two. When you get older, those are your two solutions. I'm going to give you I would be honored to give you a Costa Plus Lots, a Gateway Wizard. It's a driver, it's a putter. They're my signature series, which means they fly way better than the stock stamp.
Wow.
He hasn't been playing long. He doesn't know that they're the same disc. But here, this is for you. Thank you so much.
Very, very, very kind. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that. Next year, when I come back and meet the king, we'll revisit British politics. But for now, again, honored. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.